So number 2 now for individual differences, we have biological approach to abnormality. Number 1, physical cause.
Physical damage to brain structures. It may occur in birth.
Or accidents.
Oh, birth or accidents. There we go. There's a link between the hypothalamus and eating disorders.
A positive for this is that animals with cuts to their hypothalamus have actually showed disordered eating patterns.
Mice would starve themselves or overeat, depending on where the cuts were.
Yeah, that's what they found. It's not the nicest study. Obviously, there's a lot of ethical things in there, but it is true. But obviously, they did this on animals, so it's not necessarily generalizable to humans. It's also correlational, so it's difficult to establish cause and effect. And analyses of brains of actual people with these disorders actually look healthy, so there's not really much human evidence for this.
Okay, cool. Genetic inheritance, Liam.
Yeah, so these things that we're talking about are all the different bits of the biological approach to abnormality. There's 4. This is the second one, genetic inheritance, which is when you have inheritance of disorders through DNA. That's basically the idea of it.
Okay.
And we can evaluate it?
Yep. A positive evaluation point. Relatives of schizophrenics are 18 times more likely to be diagnosed, so that reinforces the idea of genetic inheritance, since they're more likely. Another is concordance rates for anorexia is 56% in monozygotic twins and 5% in dizygotic twins.
So monozygotic is where
they have identical genetic material.
Yeah, and the fact that that is more in monozygotic twins obviously means that it's probably more down to genetics.
Aye.
Another positive, it was found that you are 5 times more likely to have anorexia if your mother or sister had it than if they didn't. So again, genetics. Some minus points though?
Concordance rates were not 100% in the twins study, so it's not purely genetic.
Yeah, so it was only 56% in the monozygotic twins, so there's obviously other things that are going to cause it. Also, it's found that monozygotics may have more similar environments than dizygotics, so if you're identical twins, you might, I don't know, do more things together.
Yeah.
And the theory may cause stress to relatives and put the blame on them. So if it's said that this is true, then if you've got schizophrenia, you might not want to give birth to someone or if you have a child that has schizophrenia, then it's basically saying it's your fault because it was your DNA.
Yeah.
Which isn't nice.
No. Let's move on to biochemistry.
Okay, this is basically an imbalance in neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters here, we're talking about serotonin. If you have too much serotonin, you're probably going to have anxiety. And if you have too little serotonin, you will have depression, according to this.
Yes. Negative research. Negative point is that the research is correlational. So it's difficult to establish cause and effect.
Yep. Also, on the positive side, we have drugs are effective. So chemical imbalance may actually be the cause. So the drugs to boost your serotonin or cut down your serotonin, and they are effective. So it suggests that it is true.
Another negative is that just because it treats it, just because the drugs treat the symptoms doesn't mean that it's the serotonin imbalance that causes it, for example.
Exactly. It might just cover up the symptoms, not necessarily other things that the actual cause. Anyway, moving on to our last one, infection. This is where microbes are known to produce physical illnesses. It may be linked with mental illness. Bacteria may cause damage to the brain. And some evaluation.
Mothers of schizophrenics had contracted a strain of influenza during pregnancy. The fetus was exposed to the virus, which lies dormant in the brain until activated in later life. So that's a supporting that's supporting point for infection.
It is, however, it generally lacks evidence. That's basically the only evidence that there is. But generally, it lacks evidence, which is a negative.
True. So let's go on to just a really, really quick evaluation of...
Just for generally the whole of this biological approach.
Yeah.
Positive.
Evidence is strong as it's scientific and falsifiable.
However, on the negative side, it is difficult to establish cause and effect because a lot of these are correlational. And that is your biological approach complete.
Woo!